1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, that's it. I don't want you to get a read. I think.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the Best Bet segment.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Look at Nikola Jokic. He had kind of gotten himself off to a slow start at the beginning of the year, but that was partially because of that 50-point game that Aaron Gordon had, or it was the Jamal Murray had a big game. But these last 6 or 7 games, he's been putting up video game stats. His 62.8% from the floor would be the best in, I think, 3 or 4 years.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Ole Miss got left at the altar, and Ole Miss decided, I'm either going to let her continue to embarrass me, or I'm going to have some self-respect and kick her ass out the door and lock it behind her and not let her back in. And that, for me, is the right thing to do. Lane Kiffin had the right to leave.
Yep.
He chose to leave. I wish you the best of luck. Not really.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
It's stunning to think that, right? And I had the over on the win total, or going into the year with the Patriots, was 8.5. I thought they could win 10 games. They've already won 10 games. And that is a stunning turnaround, to go from worst to first here. And they're not the only team that could do it. The Jaguars could do it too. They are right on that precipice here if they handle their business against the Titans the next couple weeks and, at least split between the Indianapolis Colts, those 2 games.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Good afternoon. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. It's your midweek edition of the show, getting ready for Conference Championship weekend in college football. Of course, the NFL returns tomorrow night. We'll get closer to the college football playoff and give big previews of that as well. Also, NBA in full swing. Brad Thomas will join us on the show for a preview of that. We've got Sam McQuillan in the house from Legal Sports Report, and also Michael DeCourcy weighing in on everything happening courtesy of Sporting News. But the big news in sports, of course, happened last night as we inch closer to the college football playoff. Some more clarity as far as the top 12 teams in the playoff are concerned, as the rankings were revealed yesterday, although this doesn't give a full indication because we have conference championships this week. Here is the top 12 and the potential matchups. Teams that appear to be in the college football playoffs are 1 through 9. So that would be Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia, Texas Tech inside the top 4. They would get a bye. That's followed by Oregon, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, and Alabama. Those 9 spots appear to be secure in the college football playoff. Now, on the outside looking in, at least for the time being, we have Notre Dame, BYU, and Miami. It is expected that all 3 of those teams will not make the college football playoff again because we have conference championships and teams are going to qualify for that automatically. Also on the outside looking in, Texas with a remote chance to get into the college football playoff, Vanderbilt as well, Utah and USC will round out the top 16. So obviously Friday night there'll be some better indication because we got some championship college football games, and then after Saturday we will indeed know all of the college football playoff matchups, and then we will have it going into next week. As far as the bracket is concerned, Oregon would face Tulane, Ole Miss against Virginia from the ACC should they qualify. Texas A&M would play Notre Dame, and Oklahoma, Alabama seems to be a matchup that we will not be able to avoid at this point. College football playoffs begin later this month. Now, USF has a new college football coach here in the state of Florida, and Brian Hartline appears to be in line for the gig. He's been an assistant coach with the Ohio State Buckeyes. He'll now become the head coach at USF immediately after the college football playoffs are over. Kalani Sitake is staying with BYU despite the interest from Penn State. No one seems to want the Nittany Lions job at this point. They'll have to hire somebody soon to replace James Franklin, and also Lane Kiffin is allowing offensive coordinator Charlie Weiss to return to Mississippi to play in the college football playoff. Kiffin says that it will help with their rankings and just securing the fact that they get a good matchup in the first round of the college football playoffs. Will the NFL's postseason include the Pittsburgh Steelers? Still remains to be seen. They're on a losing streak yet again. Fans are booing the Steelers given their offensive output and outcome. Still have a chance to get in, though. Got to take care of business against the Ravens this weekend. A very candid Mike Tomlin says fans should be upset. It's an entertainment business, and the Steelers are entertaining no one.
You know, in general, I agree with them. From this perspective, football is our game. We're in the sport entertainment business. And so if you root for the Steelers, entertaining them is winning. And so when you're not winning, it's not entertaining. And if you've been in this business, you understand that. And so I respect it. I share frustrations. I understand what makes this thing go, and winning is what makes this thing go.
Like, will you make any adjustments to the responsibilities of your coaching staff?
Not anything that merits discussion in this setting, no.
Steelers also make a move on offense. They add Adam Thielen to their wide receiving core. Thielen is playing his final season. He stated in the NFL he'd like to play for a winner. Steelers are his choice. Darius Slay was also let go. Meanwhile, the New York Giants struggling once again, having a tough year. Lots of close games, we will say, for the Giants. Lots of close losses. Joe Shane spoke with the media, their general manager, saying it all starts with him.
Let me start off with, 2 wins is not where we want to be right now. It's not good enough. I understand the frustration from fans, ownership, the people inside the building, and nobody's more frustrated than myself. And it starts with me, and I'm tasked with trying to get this organization going back in, the proper direction. And the standard is to compete, for championships year in and year out. And that's the plan moving forward. So, we're going to look at everything, whether it's free agency, draft, coaching, finishing, execution on the field, whatever it may be. We're going to look at all avenues in order to get this franchise back to where it belongs.
And meanwhile, the college football and pro football news continues with the Indianapolis Colts. You may remember Michael Badgley, who kicked at the University of Miami. He's been around the league a bunch and then found a home with the Indianapolis Colts. Well, they waived him yesterday. They actually worked out former kicker Justin Tucker, but they did not sign him. They signed Blake Grupe, who will kicked for the Saints earlier this season. The sort of a round table of kickers going all around the league. Everyone's kicking for everybody these days. All right, college basketball. Let's get to it. Looks like Duke's going to move up in the top 25 next week. Very big win for them last night. They beat the Florida Gators 67-66 in the ACC SEC Challenge. Cameron Boozer had 29 points. Isaiah Evans with the game winner. John Shire afterward talked about just a huge victory against, of course, the reigning national champions.
That was a big-time game. Hats off to Florida. They got winning DNA. They're tough. They made a great run. They're going to make a run at some time. I think you go back to, our defense in the first half I thought was terrific. So the second half, we didn't quite come out the way that you need to in a game like that. I thought our guys just battled. I'm really proud of them. It's a great win. I think I can help them way more. I think there's things for us we're still figuring out with our group. But end of the day, they're competitors, and you got to find a way to make key stops in those moments.
Very low scoring game, meanwhile, in Lawrence, Kansas. Number 5, UConn beats number 21, Kansas, in the second half to rally and win 61-56. Solo ball for UConn had 17 points. Dan Hurley likes where his team is headed, especially after their last game.
Just the pain of the Arizona game, just that, because it was the same team. And, maybe Arizona's got like, a little bit more size. Maybe like slightly more size, than these guys. So I just think it was, the pain and the realization that we lost that game in large part because we got out rebounded by 20 and got crushed with paint points. And I think you could see the growth with the team today. We knew, even though they made some early threes, that they were a team that hurt you in the paint. And to keep them to 20 paint points and 5 second chance points is why we won the game.
Over to the NBA, the Los Angeles Clippers, 5 wins, 16 losses. They part ways with future Hall of Famer Chris Paul, who said that after this season, he will retire. We'll see if he links up with someone else. Meanwhile, the red-hot Oklahoma City Thunder, 20-1 on the season, on pace for more than 70 wins. They beat the Warriors last night, 124-112. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 38 points. No Steph Curry, of course, in this one. Mark Daigneault with a great record coaching OKC, but still not satisfied.
Yeah, we had to do it against Portland on Sunday, too, where we just weren't playing our best. But there's still time left on the clock and time left in the game. And you have an opportunity to course correct at that point. And I thought in both games we did that. It is an important skill. It's not a position we want to put ourselves in as a habit. But I thought the group to start the fourth quarter did a nice job of stabilizing the game, playing our way. We didn't get much separation there, but it kind of like got the game back under control, made them earn everything that they got. And then we were able to outlast them. But that should be a good lesson for us.
Draymond, do you take any moral victory from the game?
No. Nope.
When you study the league and you obviously know how good teams are, how good is that team over there?
They're a really good team. That's why they are champions with an opportunity to repeat, and they sit here at 21-1. Great team. But there ain't no moral victories.
They're what?
We're still 11-11, so we didn't get a win.
No moral victories for Draymond Green. Celtics beat the Knicks 123-117. Anthony Edwards, 44 points. Minnesota beats New Orleans 149-142. We'll be right back with Michael DeFeo.
You're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, I don't. That's it. I don't want you to get a read. I think.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the best bet segment.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Look at Nikola Jokic. He had kind of gotten himself off to a slow start at the beginning of the year, but that was partially because of that 50-point game that Aaron Gordon had, or it was the Jamal Murray had a big game. But these last 6 or 7 games, he's been putting up video game stats. His 62.8% from the floor would be the best in, I think, 3 or 4 years.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Ole Miss got left at the altar, and Ole Miss decided, I'm either going to let her continue to embarrass me, or I'm going to have some self-respect and kick her ass out the door and lock it behind her and not let her back in. And that, for me, is the right thing to do. Lane Kiffin had the right to leave.
Yep.
He chose to leave. I wish you the best of luck. Not really.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
It's stunning to think that, right? And I had the over on the win total, or going into the year with the Patriots, it was 8.5. I thought they could win 10 games. They've already won 10 games. And that is a stunning turnaround, to go from worst to first here. And they're not the only team that could do it. The Jaguars could do it too. They are right on that precipice here if they handle their business against the Titans the next couple weeks and, at least split between the Indianapolis Colts, those 2 games.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
And welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Great matchups inside of the top 25 yesterday. And, of course, in the month of December, it's what we get before conference play begins. Let's bring in Mike DeCourcy from Sporting News for a recap and a preview of what is to come. Mike, happy holidays. Great to have you back here on NewsWire. I know certainly these are some really good matchups. Unfortunately for my Florida Gators, this not the best start defending the national championship for them. But I guess when you lose Walter Clayton, this is going to happen. The Gators offense not nearly as good. 67-66. Duke comes up with a big shot late, thanks to, of course, a lot of great performances in this one, but very specifically, Cameron Boozer on pace to do what Cooper Flagg did last year, which is win maybe player of the year. So Duke moves up. The Gators probably going to move down a little bit more, although they had a nice little run recently. What did you make of this game last night?
Yeah, honestly, I give Florida a lot of credit for getting back into that game because they were down 15 points, and Duke had never lost like an 85 games or so when they were up by 15, and Florida had a legitimate chance to win that game. I thought the Gators did a nice defensive job, but the offense doesn't flow. They had 4 assists last night, the whole game. The offense does not flow. You had such a great performance by Thomas Houck for much of that game. And then when it was being decided, he was more or less as much of a spectator as I was, but he was in the building. I was at home. So that was about the only difference. He should have had the ball more often down the stretch. That was a big key to why Florida was not able to close. But you got to give a lot of credit to Duke. Cameron Boozer is a fantastic player, so versatile, so physically powerful, so many different things he can do to succeed. And I think Duke won on a night where they did not play great offensively either. You had a reasonably ineffective performance by Isaiah Evans. He made a huge play at the end of the game that made a difference, but he was only 5 of 14 from the field, 1 of 8 from 3. It's not who he is. He's one of the better offensive players in the country. So big time win for Duke on a night where maybe they weren't their best.
And Boozer's still the favorite to win the Wooden Award. He's plus 170. Generally, you don't see that this early in the season, but he's been fantastic. And naturally, Duke favored to win the ACC. And then some of the other items there, as you see the Final Four national championship, still work in progress. But a big win and a great resume win for a potential number 1 seed in the tournament in March. Long way to go, I know, until then. North Carolina defeats Kentucky 67-64. And Mike, a game that, a lot of folks thought Kentucky would end up coming out on top of this one. How did Carolina get this done?
Well, first of all, Henry Visar was fantastic and really dominated the game, especially out of pick and roll play. Kentucky could not guard the pick and roll action, and that's a problem for the Wildcats for sure. And then also you had Caleb Wilson playing fantastic. He's one of the best players in the country, one of the best freshmen in the country, doing a phenomenal job. Kentucky's offense just does not connect. They lost or for now, do not have access to Jalen Lowe, the transfer point guard from Pitt. We don't know what his status will be. We know that there were some early reports that he might sit the rest of the year, but he sort of backed away from that and is trying to get himself back out there, and they need him. Denzel Aberdeen, who transferred from Florida, your Gators, and was a big part of the national championship team last year, is trying to fill in as a full-time point guard. And he just doesn't seem to understand the responsibility of the position, on when he could shoot, when he shouldn't shoot, when he needs to get others involved, how to get in the lane and make plays. Those things aren't happening for the Wildcats, and it's really become a problem for them.
Low-scoring game in Kansas where UConn wins, and they're a top-5 team. Kansas ranked number 21 in the country, but certainly a really good matchup here, 61-56. And I know the Huskies aren't really known for their offense this season, especially inside the top 10. You can see where their offense ranks. It's nowhere near some of the other squads there, but defensively, getting it done yet again, and contributions, double-digit contributions, Mike, from a lot of players in this one as well.
Yeah, Braylon Mullins, who had missed most of the first part of the season, a freshman from Indiana, small forward type, who is really offensively skilled. He has a chance to be one of the great shooters in college basketball this year. Missed a bunch of early games with injury, and he was back last night and was a huge difference. Kansas had a difficult time guarding him, along with Solo Ball and some of the other UConn players. But I think what really helped UConn get this win was the unavailability of Darren Peterson. Kansas just isn't talented enough. With Darren Peterson, they are talented enough to be a Final Four team. But he is such a gifted player and so important as a point guard and as an offensive weapon that without him, Kansas just doesn't have enough to fight off a good performance. Maybe not even great yet. Mullins added to Caravan and Ball and some of the others, gives them the offense. But Terrace Reed's still not available, and he's a great finisher around the goal. And a physical presence on defense, and he didn't play last night. So I think there's a lot of better basketball out there still for UConn.
Meanwhile, Kansas has moved down plus 950 to win Their, of course, conference BYU plus 550, Iowa State still at the top here in the Big 12. Long way to go as we continue the college basketball season. So weird still to see Arizona, some of these teams in the pack now playing in the Big 12, I got to tell you. All right, so Louisville ranked 6th in the country. No test for them last week, Mike. They played a couple of, I hate to say cupcakes, but they won by, I believe, 40 and 50 their last couple of times. So they're hanging around there. They're going to get tested tonight, though, against the SEC in Arkansas. Total 165.5. So 2.5-point favorites for Louisville tonight. But look, Arkansas is not one of these teams that's going to lay down at home. This is going to be a much tougher matchup, I would assume, this evening.
Yeah, this is an interesting game because Arkansas really needs it. Playing at home against a high-level opponent, they lost both of their games to date against high-level opposition, Duke and Michigan State. Weren't expected to win either of those games, but this one at home, I feel like the Razorbacks really need to put out a great effort. They've been led in shooting and scoring by their two freshmen, Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas, and they haven't been involving the veterans enough. Acuff, the point guard, needs to get those guys more involved. And Malik Thomas is a great guy to have in transition and when the shot clock's down and when he's left wide open. But I think he's been a little bit too eager to shoot the basketball and not remembering there's very good players around him.
Definitely so. All right, Mike, have a great week. Thanks again. We'll catch up next week here on NewsWire. Appreciate it. SportsGrid Sound Off up next. Don't go away.
You're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, I don't. That's it. I don't want you to get a read. I think.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the best bet segment.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Look at Nikola Jokic. He had kind of gotten himself off to a slow start at the beginning of the year, but that was partially because of that 50-point game that Aaron Gordon had, or it was the Jamal Murray had a big game. But these last 6 or 7 games, he's been putting up video game stats. His 62.8% from the floor would be the best in, I think, 3 or 4 years.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Ole Miss got left at the altar, and Ole Miss decided, I'm either going to let her continue to embarrass me, or I'm going to have some self-respect and kick her ass out the door and lock it behind her and not let her back in. And that, for me, is the right thing to do. Lane Kiffin had the right to leave. Yep. He chose to leave. I wish you the best of luck. Not really.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
It's stunning to think that, right? And I had the over on the win total, or going into the year with the Patriots, it was 8.5. I thought they could win 10 games. They've already won 10 games. And that is a stunning turnaround, to go from worst to first here. And they're not the only team that could do it. The Jaguars could do it too. They are right on that precipice here if they handle their business against the Titans the next couple weeks and, at least split between the Indianapolis Colts, those 2 games.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Some very big college football implications for the playoff coming up on Friday night. North Texas takes on Tulane. Also, James Madison with an outside chance to get into the college football playoffs as well. So we'll hear from the next Gators head coach, John Sumrall, as he previews the upcoming game that Tulane has against North Texas. Also, Ryan Day with a very big matchup in the Big Ten against Indiana. And Kalani Sitake, who seems to be staying home at BYU, has a chance to get even in a revenge game against Texas Tech. Time now for the SportsGrid Sound Off. Unlike Lane Kiffin at Mississippi, it looks like John Sumrall's going to have this opportunity to capture a conference championship as he will coach Tulane this week, and if they make it, in the college football playoffs. Sumrall, of course, went to Gainesville earlier this week. He's now back in Louisiana, getting ready for Tulane's matchup against North Texas. Gives us a preview of the AAC championship coming up on Friday night.
Our guys get the opportunity to play for a conference championship. Hard to beat that. Proud of their effort. They've earned it. Formidable opponent in North Texas, a really quality team. They've done a great job this year. They've always been explosive offensively. They still are. I think where you've seen significant upgrades on their team is the offensive lines. I think a lot better than last year watching them, and I think their defense has improved a lot as well. They're sound in the kicking game. They do a good job in that area as well. So really, really good outfit. I think the biggest misconception on them is they spread it out and just throw it around, which they do, but they run it really well too. So we've got our work cut out for us in all three phases.
Meanwhile, Big Ten Championship features two of the best teams in the country. Let's be honest, Ohio State and Indiana both been fantastic, but only one team can end up winning the conference. Although, let's be honest, conference championships don't nearly mean as much. Ohio State, Indiana, both going to be playing for the college football playoff. Here is Ryan Day, head coach of the Buckeyes, following the win after Michigan and pivoting over to this showdown with the Hoosiers.
Yeah, we wanted to win the game. That's what we wanted to do. And that's what the focus was. That was it. And that's really what it came down to. But I did talk to the team leading up about how we wanted to handle ourselves before, during, and after the game. And I thought our guys did that and handled themselves great. And but like to what you said to start off the question, I mean, we are on to Indy here, man. Like, this is on us, and we got to have a great week of work. Today is going to be a great day. When everybody comes into Woody here in terms of the team, and we got to have a great look in our eye, great energy. This is going to be an electric atmosphere. It's going to be great. It's a great opponent, and this is a very important game for us, and we got to go play our best. And so that game is behind us. And every Sunday when we get done with our Sunday this week, we did our run and stretch and that victory meal. Like the minute that game is over, it's on to Indiana, and so that's where our focus is, and we can't be looking back on last week at this point.
Team that wins likely gets the number 1 seed in the college football playoff. Meanwhile, BYU, dangerous on the outside looking into the college football playoff. They lost one game this season. It was to Texas Tech. If they win this week, you can expect to see them playing deeper into December and January. Here's Kalani Sitake on the Big 12 championship and trying to beat the one team they haven't been able to beat this season.
So we're looking forward to being at our best because it's required of us when playing the best team in the nation, and that's Texas Tech. And so as we go through this, we're looking forward to the matchup, looking forward to the game altogether. I'm not much of a campaign guy for us during the season, but after the season and looking at it at everything, I do believe that what Commissioner Yormark and what Joey McGuire said, that we are a playoff contending team. And so looking forward to the matchup, and I'm looking forward to us both teams representing the Big 12 in this playoff and doing it the right way. But I do know we have some work to do and some improvement to get to. But seeing the film and Texas Tech making that happen, that's going to be key. And to end my comments, I just want to say that being in the Big 12 has been amazing for our fan base and for all of Cougar Nation, for our team. Being in all the different venues, we enjoyed the partnership in the Big 12, connecting with all the coaches and seeing all the places that we play, different venues. It's been amazing. Thank you for being kind to us, and thank you for the leadership that we see from our commissioner. Looking forward to it, and looking forward to an amazing game this weekend.
We'll have coverage for you, of course, all weekend long here on SportsGrid of the final week of the college football conference championship season, Friday and Saturday here, of course, at SportsGrid. Also, quick note from the NBA, getting some more news here from ESPN on this very bizarre ending to Chris Paul's tenure with the Los Angeles Clippers. Apparently, he and their head coach, Tyronn Lue, not on speaking terms, but I would say Chris Paul's headed to the Hall of Fame. Got to work this out with the head coach. I'm sure he'll get another opportunity to hang with someone toward the end of the season. Up next, Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report. Don't go away.
The play is Our Fam. You don't know about Our Fam? Go look her up on social media. Go look at YouTube. 19-year-old from Spain, 6'6", block shots, runs the floor, rebounds, post up, inside, outside, pop the corn, serve the beer, and it can clean up the mess when you're done eating your meal. This lady is absolutely fantastic.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Ole Miss got left at the altar, and Ole Miss decided, I'm either going to let her continue to embarrass me, or I'm going to have some self-respect and kick her ass out the door and lock it behind her and not let her back in. And that, for me, is the right thing to do. Lane Kiffin had the right to leave. Yep. He chose to leave. I wish you the best of luck. Not really.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
You take a look at it, you say, all right, well, can they do this? But the one thing I know, every year I love the SEC championship game. Like this year, we're going to get a pretty good treat in the Big Ten because you have Indiana and Ohio State. But every single year, it's never like I don't have to watch that. Because the reason I bring that up is there's a game that's going to be on 8 o'clock that probably should just be played at midnight or 1 a.m. The ACC championship game. Like, things are not the same.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's stunning to think that, right? And I had the over on the win total, or going into the year with the Patriots, was 8.5. I thought they could win 10 games. They've already won 10 games. And that is a stunning turnaround, to go from worst to first here. And they're not the only team that could do it. The Jaguars could do it too. They are right on that precipice here if they handle their business against the Titans the next couple weeks and, at least split between the Indianapolis Colts those two games.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. It was a banner week in the state of Missouri, where a large portion of the state seemingly interested in betting on sports. Sam McQuillan joins us here now. And by large, Sam, I mean, to me, I read this article in this column that you posted here on social media. My gosh, like I never would expect more than 1% of the state to be downloading apps and betting. But it's a lot higher than that. People were really salivating at the opportunity. And tell us about the numbers and where they stand.
Right. Again, this has been a really interesting launch because it's the first state we've had launch a live sports betting market in over a year. We're now at about 39 states with legal sports betting. So we're far away from those days where we were launching, one after the other. It kind of seemed like there'd be like 4 or 5 a year. So it's interesting to look at Missouri here, where you have 250,000 active accounts on day one, which, as you alluded to, Craig, is 6.4% of the state's population over 21. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that 6.4% of people in Missouri are betting. You can have multiple accounts. The average sports bettor, I think, has 1 to 2 accounts, but it's still a large sample size, especially when you talk about not having a state launch in a long time. And another really interesting thing was about 75% of those accounts were pre-registered in November before the state went live with sports betting on December 1st, which has been a big thing that states are now doing, where they can have people sign up and have the books, issue promotions even before launch day. So there's already an immediate ramp up. You had obviously the Monday Night Football game between the Patriots and the Giants was kind of the big first game that people were betting on. And there were about 2.6 million geolocation checks, which means anytime you're on a sports betting app or logging in or logging back in during the game. So big numbers there. LSR is projecting about $625 million in handle just in the first month, which would be about $60 million in revenue, which is largely fueled by, the outsized promos that are being spent in the state. I'm in a state like New York where we've had sports betting for a long time now. We don't have the same promos that a new state like Missouri is getting. And of course, we expect it again to be a 2-horse race between DraftKings and FanDuel, as kind of the whole sports betting story has been so far. But Missouri seems to be off to a hot start. They're certainly doing good numbers according to their size. They're surrounded by other legal states, which I think has helped as well. Kind of project they're going to be around similar to Maryland, which makes sense because it's around the same size, around the same population. So it's something we're going to keep monitoring throughout the year, and going to be really interesting when we talk about sports books and their approach to next year, because again, Missouri is really the only new state that'll be impacting their promo spend and kind of what they do with their dollars and business decisions. So something we'll keep watching, but off to a hot start for Missouri.
Yeah, definitely so. And 6%, a big number of that state getting involved. Okay, so for those folks who like to download apps, it's very easy to find the information that Sam and I are going to deliver now to you, really more Sam than me, over in the App Store. If you go and you search apps, I mean, it's sort of incredible that a sports betting app would be the number one app in the country, Sam. But here we are. And it's not I probably misstated that. It's not a sports betting app, right? It's a prediction app, as they say. But I mean, Sam, it's just the stories keep writing themselves here. And certainly there are people in California, and I'm going to guess Texas, and wherever sports betting is not legal, they're finding their ways around it. And their way around it is which app?
Yeah, it's Polymarket, Craig, which is, as you said, it's not technically a sports betting app, but currently the only thing you can do on it in the US is actually trade on sports. And you have a number of states and a number of tribal groups and a whole host of people who say that actually is sports betting. But ahead of its full return to the US, it's actually already number one in sports apps on the App Store. It had been banned a couple years ago under the Biden administration. It reached a settlement with the administration, but then this year, as sports prediction markets have really boomed, the Department of Justice lifted the ban, allowing Polymarket to re-enter the U.S. Now, it's not fully back in the U.S. yet, which is kind of what makes this even more impressive, that it's already number one in the sports section in the App Store. It's only being offered to a limited number of users, people who sign up for the so-called beta testing on the app. The app has had a number of updates in the past couple of weeks, which kind of makes us think that it's going to launch pretty much any day now, before the end of the year, I would expect. And it comes at a time when its long rival, Kalshi, which also does prediction markets and also has really been making waves in sports. They've already done $11 billion in sports trades since September, which is obviously when football season started. And now 95% of their volume is tied up in sports. Polymarket, when it was in the US, was not a sports app. It was only, trading on elections, trading on the weather, other pop culture events. But now it comes back to a market which is dominated by sports. One of the reasons you're seeing it on the sports category in the App Store, even though, again, not technically a sports book. And it also comes at a time when, founder Shane Copeland just did an interview with 60 Minutes, kind of positioning the app for its launch to the US. It just got a big investment from the parent company of the New York Stock Exchange. So it's really ramping things up and going to return at any time. Meanwhile, DraftKings and FanDuel are getting ready to launch their own prediction market. So Polymarket will be coming back at a time when, the competitive landscape is dominated by Kalshi. And soon it's going to have FanDuel and DraftKings in there as well, which I'm really eager to see what their products look like and how the timing kind of impacts the use of Polymarket. Will it be number one in the App Store for the next couple months? Who knows? Will it fall once FanDuel and DraftKings start offering their sports products to California and Texas? All of this will be really interesting to watch, especially with, the huge amounts of investments pouring in. This is now a company valued at around $15 billion, and it's not even technically back in the US yet. So got to imagine there'll be a lot of more interesting stuff to come when it is fully back.
Finally, let's get to the National Basketball Association. Of course, their big signature day coming up on Christmas Day, and maybe we'll see more of this, a new sports betting feature that has been added. And tell us more about this, Sam.
Yeah, FanDuel Sports Network, which took over the Bally Sports regional networks about a year ago now, it broadcasts most of the local games in about 15 to 20 markets. It hosts 300 NBA and WNBA games a year. So if you're watching on League Pass or if you're watching in a local market where there's FanDuel Sports Network, you're watching on this network. Now it's going to feature this new advertising feature under a partnership with Genius Sports, which essentially allows advertising buyers, people who do ads during the game, to buy specific moments that happen in the game as opposed to actual space that happens, during a timeout or something like that. They can now buy a moment that's integrated from what actually happened on the court. It's going to use AI to record plays in real time, shot probability, distance from the basket, defender proximity, who took the shot, and they're going to create kind of ads around this, featured in game and during timeouts when those advertisements are on. But both want to make sure they're not overwhelming the broadcast. It's going to be a small kind of bottom on-screen bar to start with clean visuals, but it gives FanDuel a really new, interesting way to monetize advertising and betting technology and the betting data that they have, where they can charge different rates versus a 30-second time slot. They can charge different rates now based on what player did something. So it's really interesting. This is kind of the first step we have in a nationwide deployment of like this live AI, data powered advertising inventory that's going to be on a sports broadcast, and it's starting with a betting company. So it'll be really interesting to see how successful it is, if it goes to other sports after doing well with the NBA and WNBA, or if other broadcasters like NBC and Amazon Prime, everyone else who's in this really competitive sports rights landscape right now, take a page out of this book and figure out, hey, this is a really new, good revenue stream we can monetize, beyond just the sports product as well. So really eager to see how this one looks, Craig.
All right, great stuff, Sam. As always, thanks for coming on NewsWire. We'll catch up again later in the week. Appreciate it.
Thanks, you too, Craig.
Make sure to go to LegalSportsReport.com to read more about all of the discussions that we have with Sam each and every week, exclusively here on NewsWire. Coming up next, Simon Applebaum joins us from the podcast Tomorrow Will Be Televised. How many folks were watching football on Thanksgiving? A lot. A lot. We'll tell you more about that next.
The play is Our Fam. You don't know about Our Fam? Go look her up on social media. Go look at YouTube. 19-year-old from Spain, 6'6", block shots, runs the floor, rebounds, post up, inside, outside, pop the corn, serve the beer, and it can clean up the mess when you're done eating your meal. This lady is absolutely fantastic.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Ole Miss got left at the altar, and Ole Miss decided, I'm either going to let her continue to embarrass me, or I'm going to have some self-respect and kick her ass out the door and lock it behind her and not let her back in. And that, for me, is the right thing to do. Lane Kiffin had the right to leave. Yep. He chose to leave. I wish you the best of luck. Not really.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
You take a look at it, you say, all right, well, can they do this? But the one thing I know, every year I love the SEC championship game. Like this year, we're going to get a pretty good treat in the Big Ten because you have Indiana and Ohio State. But every single year, it's never like I don't have to watch that, because the reason I bring that up is there's a game that's going to be on 8 o'clock that probably should just be played at midnight or 1 a.m. The ACC championship game. Like, things are not the same.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's stunning to think that, right? And I had the over on the win total, or going into the year with the Patriots, was 8.5. I thought they could win 10 games. They've already won 10 games. And that is a stunning turnaround, to go from worst to first here. And they're not the only team that could do it. The Jaguars could do it too. They are right on that precipice here if they handle their business against the Titans the next couple weeks and, at least split between the Indianapolis Colts those 2 games.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
Joining us now is Simon Applebaum from the podcast Tomorrow Will Be Televised. Our Thanksgiving meals are in the rearview mirror, but the ratings are just in. Let's bring in Simon for the very latest. Simon, not a surprise here that more folks were watching on Thanksgiving Day than ever before in the National Football League, but these numbers particularly the ones between the Kansas City Chiefs and Dallas Cowboys, are absolutely staggering.
You better believe it. And as far as the point before, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade that morning had over 34 million people watching on NBC and Peacock. That was a record, by the way, all time for television cover of that parade. So it's no surprise that, yes, the football games, all three of them on Fox, on NBC at night, and on CBS were all doing very, very well. And of the three, I thought the Cowboys-Chiefs game was tremendous. You had two quarterbacks, Dak Prescott and Patrick Mahomes, at their prime. It was the defense that really determined the games, not the offense. And I thought Tony Romo and Jim Nantz did a great job on play-by-play. Graphics were good. Tracy Wilson was terrific. It was by far, I thought, the best covered and best rated of the three games. Also, Friday, I thought was a big winner for Amazon. You had the return of the Skins game, one of the best golf concepts ever. Went very, very well. Andrew Catalan did a very nice job on home from CBS Sports to do it. You then had a sensational game with the Bears and the Eagles. Who knew how great the Bears were in terms of blowing out the Eagles and maybe having the NFC race go topsy-turvy. And then you also had the two NBA games. So it was a big win, I thought, for Amazon for their first ever really big Black Friday day. I think it's something you're going to see them doing now forever on that Black Friday. But in terms of college football, I thought ESPN had a winner on Saturday night, actually two, with Alabama-Auburn on ABC, and then what I thought was one of the big games of the day, SMU in California. He had SMU that was playing for a possible conference championship, possibility in the college football playoffs. You had California with basically only a minor ball game to go for. Their coach was fired after their disaster performance against Stanford, and yet it was an amazing game that went back and forth. California went out to a little lead. Third and fourth quarter, SMU came back. It looked like SMU was going to win the game with 2 minutes to go. And then SMU's defense broke down beautifully for California to pull it out at the end. It was, and Lowell Galindo, by the way, who is one of sort of the up-and-coming play-by-play for ESPN, I thought gave his best call ever. So overall, it was a great Thanksgiving for ESPN. On Saturday, it was a great game for Amazon with what they did Black Friday, and Cowboys Chiefs on CBS. In terms of lowlights, you got Ohio State, Michigan. What a bomb of a game. I mean, one of the granddaddy of all college football rivalry games, was an absolute disaster, plus you had the snow. And then you had Ion on Friday and Saturday with the Elevance Health women's tip-off game. The games themselves were good. Ion's coverage was terrific. This woman, Duncan, I think is going to be a standout female play-by-play commentator. I thought the halftime and post-game show and pre-game shows were good. The problem was the organizers did not do a very good job. You saw maybe 50 people in the stands at any one game. It was so bad down in Fort Myers, Florida, that the bleachers on both sides of the basketball court were not even taken down to have attendance. This is not on Ion. This is on the organizers of the game. They should have, on this tournament, they should have done a lot better with this.
All right. Well, should be a lot better as far as these blackouts are concerned with these networks. This is one, Simon, that's news to me. Didn't even know that this existed here. But NBC Universal's channel is blacked out on Fubo and Warner Brothers. So what is the dispute going on here? Because this is, certainly somewhat of a prominent streaming channel and channel as well. So what are people missing out on, and why is this happening?
Well, they're missing out on Sunday Night Football. They're missing out on NBC and Peacock's coverage of the NBA on Monday and Tuesday nights. And it's all because of the fact, it's like most of these carriage disputes, like the ones we've had over the last few months with YouTube TV, it is all about money. It is all about how much should Fubo pay for the right to carry NBC Universal sports channels. NBC Universal is saying, especially now that we're breaking up into NBC Universal and Versant, starting next month, that we want you to carry all of our NBC Universal channels, not just the sports, all of them. And Fubo is saying, no, we are a sports mega bundle service. We only want the sports channels. And that's where you're having the issue. And by the way, negotiations have been sort of at a standstill. However, it's also happening at a crazy time for NBC Universal because their parent company, Comcast, is one of three companies, Paramount, Skydance, and Netflix, who are now bidding for Warner Bros. Discovery, either for the entire company, which includes their cable channels like TNT and TBS, or just the Warner Bros. Studios, HBO, and HBO Max. The second round of bids were due, and they actually came through on Monday. The word from Bloomberg and other news sources is that Warner Bros. may decide in the next week or two to enter into deep negotiations with one of those three. And in the case of Comcast, you got to keep in mind that if they get it, they would get things. If they can get TBS and TNT aboard, they would get, for example, March Madness. the cable games. If Paramount Skydance gets Warner Bros. Discovery, they would have the whole of March Madness because they would have the CBS sports coverage and they have the TBS, TNT, and TBS coverage every March until 2032. So get ready. I think the next week or two, we're going to find out whether Warner Bros. Discovery decides to merge with somebody else or they will go through their plan to split up into two companies next spring.
Finally, Simon, let's get to the Pro Women's Hockey League kicking off their third season with a couple of new teams and Winter Olympics on the way. So some nice attention for the sport.
Very much so, Craig. This is a very crucial year for this league. I think it could become the next major women's sports league after the National Women's Soccer League and after the WNBA. Why? You now have 4 teams, 4 from USA, 4 from Canada. You have new teams in Seattle and Vancouver. You also have the national contract with Women's Sports Network. You have Regional Sports Network carrying it. And you also have the Women's Olympics, where women's hockey is becoming more and more of a big sport. So you have this incredible fuel of new talent that could become stars out of the coverage on NBC and Peacock in February. Keep in mind, the Professional Women's Hockey League wants to go from 8 to 10 or 12 teams next year. The big problem is the continued lack of publicity and promotion relations. Nobody knows when these games are on MSG Network. And over the Thanksgiving weekend, there was a game on WWOR Channel 9 in New York, maybe the worst local television station in America. And nobody knew because nobody told them. Neither the league nor did WWR tell them that the game was on. And it's a shame because it involved the New York Sirens, who are one of the top teams in the league.
The worst local station in America, Simon? WWOR. How did that happen? I mean, they used to carry the Mets.
They used to. Now I believe it is Channel 11, and they're owned by Fox. But basically, it's like reruns of Fox. They even run the newscast on Channel 5, and they don't even update the newscast if a major story happens. That's how bad this station is. They have no public affairs programming on their own. They did carry Liberty games last year, rather than having them on Yes Network, but they don't publicize. That's the problem.
All right, son. You made your point. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
You too.
They have a bigger talent pool potentially, and they're going to give them anything it takes to potentially get this team back to a national championship. And if you want to set a legacy, you could maybe have one good year at Ole Miss and maybe potentially, 5 or 6 9-3 campaigns, but you're not going to make the playoff each and every season, or at least that's the mindset. You have a better path at LSU or a bigger school.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
You're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, that's it. I don't want you to get a read. I said.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the best bet segment.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
When LeBron James decides he's retiring, it is coming with trumpets blaring, Adam Silver by his side, and he is going on a state-by-state, coast-to-coast tour so that everyone can acknowledge how great he was and give him a parting gift and thank him for his amazing contributions to the NBA.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The play is Our Fam. You don't know about Our Fam? Go look her up on social media. Go look at YouTube. 19-year-old from Spain, 6'6", block shots, runs the floor, rebounds, post up, inside, outside, pop the corn, serve the beer, and it can clean up the mess when you're done eating your meal. This lady is absolutely fantastic.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. One of the very popular events that goes on every year out in Las Vegas is G2E. It tells you all about streaming options and digital play and the future of television and streaming and sports betting naturally as well. Well, the good thing is that here at SportsGrid, we have an opportunity to do a lot of coverage regarding that. And in case you missed some of it, well, you're in luck because we're going to provide to you a little bit more of an insight as to how it all works. In fact, our very own Brady Cannon, who you catch here during the weekends and also makes appearances all over the SportsGrid network, of course, lives in Las Vegas. So he had the opportunity to sit down and do an exclusive interview. This was from back in October. He sat down with Corby Carrison, the president of G2E, to take an inside look exactly what we can expect for this in the future. Here's Brady.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It is Inside G2E, live from the Venetian Expo Center. We are on the floor. I'm Brady Cannon with SportsGrid, and thank you so much for tuning in. We're on day 3 here of this wonderful event, and we saved one of the best for last. That's for darn sure. We've had a star-studded list of guests throughout this week. Now we're going directly to the top. The boss, the lady who runs the whole darn thing. It's Corby Carrison. Corby, welcome to the program. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So, yeah, you're probably a pretty busy woman these days. I want to know, we're going to wrap up here this afternoon. Do you take about a 2-week vacation and then start working on 2026?
Well, actually, I started working on 26 about 3 months ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's a little prep in the works also for 27 and 28. So we're always looking forward if we're not analyzing what we've done in the past. So, yeah, there's a lot going on for sure. We're going to wrap up things. Really amazing energy this week, but we are looking forward to next year too.
That's interesting. And by the way, congratulations, milestone here, the silver anniversary, the 25th anniversary of G2E. Have you been around for all 25?
I actually have, yes, in one capacity or another. So I've been in the role of event leader for 8 years.
Okay.
But before that, I came from the gaming industry. I worked in slots mostly, different gaming companies, different capacities. But I've been here for all 25 G2Es.
Have you always been an event planner deep down inside?
I think deep down inside I have been. It's just one of those things. I enjoy hospitality. I enjoy spending time with people. So it kind of comes naturally to me.
Where'd you start?
I started in marketing, and I started marketing slot machines. So I started gaining that experience, and it just went on from there, where I learned trade show operations, I learned education management, all of the different facets, and here we are today.
This is my 4th one, and I have seen exponential change basically year after year. You've seen change for 25 years. What's the difference like?
You know, the industry just is very different than it was 25 years ago.
How many exhibitors did you have here on the floor this year? Do you know exactly?
Around 400.
Okay, and then 25 years ago, how many were there?
Oh, that's an excellent question. I don't have the answer to that, but it was a much smaller show then.
Was it less than 100?
No, I'm going to say maybe half the size.
Okay.
But I think that the attendance was less than half.
Okay.
Way back then, yeah.
And how about the seminars? Obviously, that's just as big an arm as this floor is. How do you book a lot of the same people year after year? Are you always trying to refresh?
We do want to keep the program fresh. There are people in the industry that are absolutely must be on the program.
Right.
People. So we do try to keep a mix of those industry veterans who everybody wants to hear, along with new people that are bringing fresh perspectives. So the education program is something that, again, is a year-long effort. We put together a call for content that happens in the February-March timeframe. Now, it seems like that's a little bit early to be talking about what's going to be topical in the fall, but it takes that long to really put together specifically how do we want to approach a particular topic. Who really should be talking about that? And it gives us a little bit of time over the summertime months as we're preparing to make adjustments. Maybe there's something new that's happening in the landscape that we make adjustments. So yeah, it's a long process to do all of that, but it's really important for G2E to lead the way in those conversations.
Do you feel like you're one of the best conventions that Las Vegas hosts?
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of interaction. I mean, the folks at the Venetian are just amazing to work with. We love being here and we love working with them. And we do hear that people from the convention industry do want to come to G2E and see what's happening. I mean, you walk the floor, there is no question that our exhibitors are bringing their A game. Absolutely top notch, very exciting every single year.
They have a bigger talent pool potentially, and they're going to give them anything it takes to potentially get this team back to a national championship. And if you want to set a legacy, you could maybe have one good year at Ole Miss and maybe potentially, 5 or 6 9-3 campaigns, but you're not going to make the playoff each and every season, or at least that's the mindset. You have a better path at LSU or a bigger school.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
You're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, that's it. I don't want you to get a read. I said.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the best bet segment.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
When LeBron James decides he's retiring, it is coming with trumpets blaring, Adam Silver by his side, and he is going on a state-by-state, coast-to-coast tour so that everyone can acknowledge how great he was and give him a parting gift and thank him for his amazing contributions to the NBA.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The play is Our Fam. You don't know about Our Fam? Go look her up on social media. Go look at YouTube. 19-year-old from Spain, 6'6", block shots, runs the floor, rebounds, post up, inside, outside, pop the corn, serve the beer, and it can clean up the mess when you're done eating your meal. This lady is absolutely fantastic.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Let's get the latest landscape in the National Basketball Association from Brad Thomas, who joins us now. And glad to have you back here on the show, Brad. Really appreciate it. Some news in the NBA. We'll get to that as well. But let's start off with the story of the league this season. No, it's not trade requests or players that don't want to play. Or let's talk about the actual games and the teams. It's the Oklahoma City Thunder. Are they going to break the record for most wins in a season? They beat the Warriors yesterday, Brad, 124-112. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, another 38-point performance. This should surprise nobody at this point. But they are on the verge of one of the best starts in the history of the National Basketball Association. And obviously, it's too early to say they're going to win 75 games or something like that. But certainly their pace is there to have one of the best years of all time.
What they're doing is absolutely incredible. And it's so funny because the sports books have honestly moved off of them winning 74 games, and now the most popular selection is them winning 77 games. I've seen a lot of books posting that line. I think it was around plus 500 if I'm not mistaken there. But this team is incredible because this is one of those teams that, yes, they're led heavily by SGA, but they have a big buy-in through the entire team, and that starts on the defensive side of the court, right? It's a really strong defensive unit that is getting MVP level play, and they're super deep. And what's scary about this team, right, is we talk about the hangover after winning a championship, how it's so hard to focus and retool, but this team's only going to get better because they still have young pieces that haven't reached their potential. And they just added Jalen Williams back, who's been off with a wrist injury. So, this team is scary good, and they're going to draft well. They're going to have a lot of draft picks. This could be the start of a new dynasty if they can kind of proportion the money correctly.
Yeah, and right now, you look at the best starts in the history of the NBA, they're right there for it, 20-1. Warriors 24-1. OKC, of course, right there at 21-1, so they're 3 away. And, certainly, look, there's been a lot of great starts, but it's really how you finish. But let's give them credit for where they are. By the way, in terms of being the favorite for the Western Conference, they're right there, minus 125. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the favorite to win the NBA's MVP at plus 150 as well. All right, let's break up the Minnesota Timberwolves. Offensively, Brad, a 149-point performance. Needed some extra time to do it, but they get the job done. Anthony Edwards is having a fantastic season. Seems like Minnesota's legit. Like, I mean, last year, obviously was a little bit of a coming out party, but I feel like the Timberwolves are going to be there in the end.
Yeah, this is another team that I think is a really well-coached team. And then Anthony Edwards is playing fantastic. It's always easy to say that the night after he puts on a stellar performance, right? 44 points, 34 of those, I believe, was in the second half, which was absolutely incredible. But they also did just beat up the Pelicans, right? This is what, 3-win team that just is not going anywhere fast without their best player. And it went to overtime, and it took an Anthony Edwards last-second layup to send it to overtime. So I'm not going to give him too much credit off of that performance alone. But yeah, this is a team that's going to be able to cause noise in the playoffs like they did last season.
I think right now it's one of those things where they're not getting enough credit just because the assumption is the Timberwolves will never win an NBA championship. But just getting to the conference finals and certainly getting to the place that they can get, I think you do have to give them credit. Okay, so look, at this point, I don't know where the career of Zion Williamson is headed. We know several years ago he was certainly, Brad, the most popular young player in the NBA, but it's just been injury after injury with him, and weight concerns initially. Now it's just different injuries as well. Look, I don't know that Zion Williamson is in the category yet of Greg Oden, but it feels like we're headed there, right? Like, it feels like this is, Oden's going to end up playing a lot less than Zion ever will. I mean, Zion's games will be more in terms of accrued, but is there even a future for this kid to play in the NBA? What's going to have to happen here?
I don't know. It's weird, right? He's only played in 224 of the 493 possible games for the Pelicans. That's less than 50% of the action that he's seen. That's a really scary metric. And he has the intangibles, the explosiveness, but you cannot teach, and you're not born with automatically great health. And initially it was the weight concern, right? When you're that explosive, you are banging that hard with that much size, you're bound for something like a freak accident, like a hairline fracture to happen. He loses a little bit of weight, and still now it's a hip abductor muscle or whatever injury he has. I don't know what to think of Zion Williamson. I think he's just going to be another one of those players, and there's a long list of them that have this extreme potential, but the cards just don't stack the right way, and that's simply just life.
Boston Celtics were sort of projected to be a team that could be on the outside looking into the playoffs with all the injuries. And of course, the key one to Tatum that they had, Brad, but let's give them some credit. They beat the Knicks yesterday, 123-117. This East right now is completely wide open. Definitely nothing looked the West at this point. I mean, this is 12-9 is basically giving you the best record in the East. 42 points last night for Jaylen Brown, the healthy player for Boston, 42 points. And a plus 15 on the court yesterday, and they've beaten some of the best teams in the NBA. Let's take a look at this. Detroit, of course, phenomenal this season. The Magic, the Knicks, the Cavs, and the only game they lost in the last 5 was Minnesota. So dare I say, not only will the Celtics probably make the playoffs, Brad, will they potentially even get like home games during the playoffs as well?
I think so too. The Celtics started off slow, and you always have to remember this is a long season, especially with the Celtics having to kind of work in new pieces. That's new players and players playing in different positions or having bigger roles and more usage. Now, you already mentioned it, right? They knocked off 4 of the top 6 teams in their little 5-game streak that they're on. They've won 7 of their last 10 games. And this is a Celtics team that has championship pedigree, right? It's not like they lose Jason Tatum and he's the only championship caliber player they have in their team. And they're getting great contributions from the other players too, right? Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, even Anthony Simons off the bench is playing pretty well. So this is still a high-level team and a really well-coached team. I think they'll make some noise.
Let's get to the story that is making the most headlines. It's kind of much ado about nothing, honestly, and this is what the NBA is popular for, is for talking about things that really don't matter on the court, but we love drama. So Chris Paul, who immediately when he retires within the minimum amount of time is going to end up being in the National Basketball Hall of Fame. We know that. He's been a fantastic player, on the doorstep of championships several times, never got it done. He's a secondary player at this time of his career. I understand the Clippers are off to a really bad start, but Paul is not being treated like a future Hall of Famer by the Clippers here, being dumped in the middle of the night. What's going on here, Brad?
You know, it's kind of weird because when they announced Chris Paul was going to retire at the end of the season, initially my first thought was, wow, this stinks. He's going to have his retirement ceremony, his retirement year on a team that's absolutely horrendous. And then they go ahead and release him, which is absolutely insane. Someone who is future Hall of Famer to be treated like that. But it also kind of felt like there was a headbutting inside the locker room between Lou and Chris Paul. And it's not like Chris Paul's play has been bad. He just hasn't been playing. He had a stint where he had 5 straight games where he didn't even see the court. Last season with the Spurs, he wasn't bad, right? I had the numbers. It was actually pretty fantastic. I think he had like a +9 rating and he'll average like 7 assists per game. Like he was a viable 39-year-old, but now he's 40, now on a losing team, a team that needs to get younger. I don't know what's next for his career because there's not a lot of teams that are going to championship teams that are going to want to pick him up, but I think he needs a better sending off than being cut in the middle of the night.
Yeah, very strange their notion for sure. Also, some news from the NBA about an hour ago. We learned that that Giannis apparently told the Bucks that he wants a new destination. They're 9-13 this season. Giannis, top 3 player, maybe top 2, top 5, depending on how you rank players in the NBA. I mean, that's a much easier scenario for a team to be able to get him. But here is the issue, Brad. The Bucks better strike gold with this deal like OKC did with all those first-round picks. It's impossible to get players to go play in Milwaukee in the NBA. If they trade this guy, they may never come back from it.
Yeah, and it's really hard to ask any of these championship caliber teams to forfeit a bunch of picks because you have to remember a lot of them already gave away a ton of picks to get their roster that they have right now.
All right, we'll take a break, and of course, Brad will be watching his Orlando Magic take on the San Antonio Spurs tonight. Will they cover this big line without the Spurs' top guy in the lineup? Find out next. Don't go away.
They have a bigger talent pool potentially, and they're going to give them anything it takes to potentially get this team back to a national championship. And if you want to set a legacy, you could maybe have one good year at Ole Miss and maybe potentially, 5 or 6 9-3 campaigns, but you're not going to make the playoff each and every season, or at least that's the mindset. You have a better path at LSU or a bigger school.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
You're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I get a read. I think.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the best bet segment.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
When LeBron James decides he's retiring, it is coming with trumpets blaring, Adam Silver by his side, and he is going on a state-by-state, coast-to-coast tour so that everyone can acknowledge how great he was and give him a parting gift and thank him for his amazing contributions to the NBA.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The play is Our Fam. You don't know about Our Fam? Go look her up on social media. Go look at YouTube. 19-year-old from Spain, 6'6", block shots, runs the floor, rebounds, post up, inside, outside, pop the corn, serve the beer, and it can clean up the mess when you're done eating your meal. This lady is absolutely fantastic.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of folks will be watching this drama transpire with the Los Angeles Clippers, who take on the Atlanta Hawks tonight. We'll get a preview of that game and some of the others on tonight's NBA slate. Brad Thomas is here with us, like some props, like some plays as well. Brad, let's start off with the game that I'm going to guess that you'll be watching the closest tonight. I don't know if that's fair, but it's the Orlando Magic taking on the San Antonio Spurs. We know Spurs looking different lately. I mean, there's no doubt about that. When you lose your big star, Magic 8-point favorites, total 235.5. Catch us up with this matchup and who you like, if any, in this one.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'll be watching this one closely. Unfortunately, I'll be have to be watching it on my phone. We have bowl selection today, so we'll be picking teams for the bowls down here in Florida. But I digress. I actually like Desmond Bain in this game. And this was a bet I probably wouldn't have taken early at the beginning of the season. But after back-to-back 30-point nights, I think I'm comfortable with his 22.5-point total and taking the over. And it's not necessarily because he had those 230 nights. It's how he did it. His shooting has progressively gotten better throughout the season. It's really hard to change scenery and just think you're going to just flip that switch and be shooting as well as you were in another place. The gym is different. It sounds different when you're in there. Remember, you're not practicing in your practice arena. I mean, your main arena, right? So, but now he's playing really good, and he actually has the highest usage on the team. I'm not really liking the Magic though, plus the minus the 8 there. I'd rather take the Spurs. Magic aren't really good at covering big spreads. I think as favorites of 6 or more so far this season, and they're 2-6 against the spread, which is a really weird and funky number. I think the Spurs do enough to keep it close.
Indiana's having a dreadful season, and certainly you never know. Like, you lose a guy like Halliburton, you could still be 500, but man, the Pacers seemingly just going through, Brad, what is being called a lost year for them, chasing down some picks here at this point. Denver, I mean, can you bet? What are the odds for Jokic to get a triple-double? It happens every night. Denver -8 tonight, total of 237.5. I would expect Denver probably to win this game, but again, it's a big line on the road.
You said, what are the odds of Jokic to get a triple-double? Is the first thing I had to know, because I knew it had to be insane. It's around -150, -175 for someone to get a triple-double, but it makes sense, right? Like, that's probably the first bet if I'm like not trying to find EV, as people say, is I want to bet Jokic. It's going to be a high-scoring game, not a really good defensive unit, 20th in defensive rating for the Pacers. But I actually want to go a different way. And I'm going with Peyton Watson over 13.5 points. And, Peyton Watson's just I think he's a 10, 6, and 4 guy. Doesn't get a ton of minutes and usage. But without Aaron Gordon, that number just drastically increases. He's up to 18.7 in 7 games played. That's points scored in 7 games played without Aaron Gordon. And he has the luxury and the benefit of getting passes from the best facilitating big man probably in the history of the NBA, and Jokic. And I think with a point total that's probably going to go over of 237.5, I would bet that he's going to get to 16 or 17. And in those 6 or 7 games, in of those 7 games too, he went over in 6 or 7, so it's not like 135-point outlier with a bunch of misses. It's all hits, 1 miss.
Help me out with this one tonight. So the Hawks are clearly the better team in this matchup against the Los Angeles Clippers, and we know that there's a lot of traveling going on with the Clippers who are on the road, and we also have the drama of the Chris Paul thing. But I must be missing something here tonight, because Atlanta, who's 13-9, are 2.5-point favorites, which tells us it's kind of an even game tonight. Total of 227.5. Is this like a usage issue for the Hawks tonight, or are the odds makers just still bullish on a Clippers team eventually to figure they start winning some games?
I don't really know what to think of this game, because I think someone said if it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. This line is stinky, 3.5. We have to remember the last time a team played in a really weird travel situation with some older guys, some questionable players in the lineups. That was Golden State Warriors against Miami, had that weird travel situation as well. And that line was like 8.5, 7.5. Now we're just talking about 3.5 for a team that's been pretty bad, a 5-win Clippers team, the team that's slow offensively, bad defensively, doesn't get out in transition against a really disciplined defensive unit in the Atlanta Hawks. I lean, and this is a lean, the 3.5 with the Atlanta Hawks, even without Trae Young, even without Porzingis. Jalen Johnson's doing enough to get this team over the finish line. But sometimes when something just looks too obvious, it's best for me just to sit out, because I don't think I need to poke the bear. There's so many other good angles you can look for this today.
Detroit, one of the best teams in the East this season. They're 4.5-point favorites on the road against Milwaukee, surrounding now this new Giannis drama that could potentially be in play. Total of 230.5. Most feel that Detroit's legit. I don't know what that really means and how far that they could go, but their regular season's off to a great start.
Yeah, Detroit's legit. I mean, shout out to Motor City. Good for them. It's been a while since they've been really good at basketball. I like the over here. The Bucks don't play a lick of defense, but they do play with a really high pace. And even though the Pistons play really good defense, they've been a team that's an over team, right? Over 7 times in the last 11. And the head-to-heads between these two, I don't lean too much into head-to-heads, but when they've gone over in 5 straight meetings, it's something that I have to at least investigate. I think we see the over, and there's so much drama surrounding the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis, where I just think if you don't like the over, you just go ahead and you take the Pistons team total over. They're already a 4-point favorite on the road. And I'd imagine if they're going to cover the 4, or if they have blowout potential, it's going to be doing it by scoring a ton of points, not necessarily by stifling the Milwaukee Bucks. So you could take the Pistons team total over if you don't like the full game over.
Finally, let's talk about the Miami Heat visiting the Dallas Mavericks. Mavericks, we know, going through a transitional type season. That's what we thought the Heat would be going through. But as usual, the Heat outperforming all their projections, 14-7 on the season. The acquisition of Powell has been great for the Heat. They're 5.5 tonight, total of 240.5. It's the same thing. It feels like, honestly, with the regular season of the Heat every year, is that the projections are low. They outperform them. Playoffs, obviously, we don't know. We're a long way from there, Brad. But they played some great offensive basketball. I think that's been the surprise.
Very surprising. 11th in offensive rating. I wasn't expecting that. We know they're going to be a good top 5 defensive unit every single year. I would just wait for the lineups, though. Norman Powell, questionable for this game. I think he's the difference between them covering a 5-point spread or them kind of squeaking out and winning this. But the Mavericks don't play good enough defense, and their offense is really slow as well. I like the Heat to win and cover.
What did you say you had tonight, Brad? Instead of watching the game on the phone, I didn't catch that. What did you say it was?
I'm going to be I'm one of the members to select the college football teams for the bowls down here in Florida.
Awesome. All right. Well, good luck with that. I look forward to getting that. Good stuff with Brad. All right. We'll be back with more and wrap up the show next. Let's play our game of buy or sell. Let's get to the quarterbacks for next year. Mac Jones will be an NFL starter to begin next season. He's looked great. Brock Purdy has not. Buy or sell?
You look through the NFL here. Miami, Jets, Cleveland, Raiders. I'm just going
Arizona,
by division.
Minnesota.
Arizona, definitely. Minnesota. Definitely.
Raiders.
I mentioned
Can
the Raiders.
you just say buy and move on, please, to the next question? Because it's a buy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a buy. It is a buy. He's right. He'll definitely be starting for somebody there, right? He has had a nice season. He'll start for somebody. Jets.
Buy. Gardner Minshew was a starter in the NFL year after year for the next guy in waiting. I mean, this keeps happening. You think that Mac Jones is not going to be a buy? All right. Daniel Jones will finish the season as a better fantasy quarterback than Justin Herbert of the Chargers. Both players, George, have slipped quite a bit in November here.
Broken fibula. No, he's not going to finish better than Justin Herbert. I don't know if he's going to finish the season. You got to think if they were playing better, maybe he'd be sitting out a week or two. But they've been struggling, trying to win that division. Big games now against Houston, that they're sort of pushing him in there. No. I know the offensive line for the Chargers is horrific. I get it. But no, I'll say Justin plays a little bit better.
I'm buying it. I don't like what I see with the Chargers at all. Can't run, can't throw, can't play defense. Feels like Harbaugh's getting a little desperate.
Broken fibula.
It's not a tibula. It's a fibula. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, fine.
I don't know that to be true. Okay. It just sounded good.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Got an interesting notification on social media that said that one of the best players in the history of their sport was making a return, like a Michael Jordan-ish return. Thought it was legit. Doesn't look to be the case. Also, an update from the Winter Olympics where a skating rink could be a little bit smaller than they thought, and also a really nice gesture from a Hall of Famer in New York. It's time now to wrap up the show with some last licks. All right, Winter Olympics getting ready to get underway here, coming up as soon as February of 2026. And, naturally, one of the biggest sports at the Winter Olympics and one of the biggest events is always going to be hockey, right? It's going to be the U.S. team and all the other teams involved, Team Canada, etc. Well, some interesting news here breaking yesterday. The Olympic hockey rink in Milan is not completed yet. Less than 2 months before this begins. So that's the first odd sign. And also will be 3 to 4 feet smaller than an NHL-sized rink. In fact, according to the chief operations officer, they say that there is no plan B, and the rink is just going to be non-regulation and be smaller than an actual rink coming up. How did this end up happening? How did they just realize this with a couple of months ago until the Winter Olympics? Now, how this affects hockey, don't ask me. I have no idea. But it would seem to me if that you do not have a regulation hockey rink, it could change things just like a regulation football field or regulation basketball court. How that could affect sports betting is probably the bigger question that we would have here at SportsGrid. But stay tuned. I'm moving out of my frame here. You can't even see me talk. I'm moving around too much. Okay, yesterday on social media, I sent a tweet to our producer here, Frank, stating that Serena Williams is making a comeback. I saw this posted yesterday, and sometimes you can get duped with fake accounts. This was not one of them. A legitimate report yesterday came out that said Serena Williams is coming out of retirement and is looking to be reinstated and in the ATP, inside the top 100 and participate in all these events. So I thought that was the case until Serena Williams herself debunked the report, which has got to be horrible for this person who posted this report. You got to feel so bad. Luckily, I have not been there before. Serena Williams says no. She is not making a Michael Jordan-esque return to tennis. She, of course, has kids, family, etc. I think Venus Williams is getting married too, if I'm not mistaken, soon, or something like that. They've had great careers, Serena and Venus. And Venus is actually the one that has been back playing a little bit. But Serena says no, she's going to not play. Is the last time we really saw Serena doing anything, was that at the Super Bowl? Her dancing at the Super Bowl, right? I feel like that was the last. Was that last Super Bowl? Last year's Super Bowl? It was recently, in the last 2 years for sure. All right. I don't think so. Okay, so let's wrap it up with a good story. We try to do this every day. So much bad news out there on all the shows that you probably stream. We try to give you a good story. CC Sabathia, who is now in the National Baseball Hall of Fame, met with city leaders on Tuesday and posted a picture which I thought really made the story, so we'll show you. They unveiled an $11 million sports complex in New York City, in Manhattan, but it was at Harlem Park, which was previously, they're using the word dilapidated. That's like putting it nicely, but they built this brand new little baseball field and stadium and sports complex where kids can play baseball in New York. So really good job by CC Sabathia and helping out the kids there, because this is happening all over the country. Everywhere you go, you're seeing baseball stadiums being run down. Kids aren't playing. They're turning them into soccer fields sometimes. So this is a little bit of a revival here for Harlem Park. Congrats to CC Sabathia. Great job. All right, great job by all of our guests here on the show today. Thanks to Michael DeCourcy of Sporting News, Sam McQuillan of Legal Sports Report, Simon Applebaum of the podcast tomorrow will be televised, and Brad Thomas joining us to talk some NBA as well. Hey, folks, get ready for championship weekend here in college football, and you can download the SportsGrid app to follow all of your favorite teams this weekend and all of the picks against the spread. Just download the SportsGrid app. Take out your phone and scan this QR code. It's available for iOS and Android, so those of you who are streaming our shows on a smart TV, you can also do it on your tablet or phone for free. Just scan that QR code right there, and you can watch SportsGrid 24 hours a day. 7 days a week. That will do it for our show here on this Wednesday. We'll be right back tomorrow with another edition of previewing Thursday night football, and it's a good one. Dallas and Detroit, the fantasy football playoffs too. A lot of folks having fun with that. Thanks again to Luke and to Frank. I'm Craig Mish. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. See you back here for our next edition of NewsWire, 12 o'clock Eastern, exclusively here on SportsGrid. Have a great day.